Hi everyone, my name is Chris and welcome to Anime Debate. This week we're not going to debate anything. We're going to review Cyborg 009. Now in my last video, some people got mad at me for not wearing a shirt. So instead, I'm not wearing something else in this video and I want you to guess what I'm not wearing. I'll tell you in the comments down below if you're good. Now let's get started. So Cyborg 009 has been around since literally the dawn of time. Okay, it's not true. The 60s. It is one of the early anime properties and it still holds up over time. You watch the old episodes. I love watching them, and I also love watching the other 3 series that surround this entire cataclysm. It is just amazing, simply put. It is slower paced. It's not action in your face every 2 minutes. That is how the old style used to go. But I think that if you can learn some patience and just watch it for the quality of it, you will really fall in love with these characters, these settings, these scenes, these villains, these heroes, all of it. It is totally worth your time. So this current series, which came out in 2016 in Japan as a set of movies, which has now been edited, sliced down, and put in season format for, of course, Netflix, and dubbed as well. I think it is now more palatable for the American taste, because once you start to get a little bored, a little tired of the slower pace, you can pause and then come back to it. Pause and then come back to it. I think it just works better for a property like this. So if you're like me and grew up and watched Toonami, you may remember Cyborg 009 from one of the other series, I believe the 2002 series, which had beautiful animation that called back to the old school style, which I absolutely love. I'm glad they didn't update it and make it all, oh man, let's make it all angular. Let's make everybody, have normal looking faces. Let's not distort proportions, which of course in this current series we're talking about, they absolutely did. They took one of my favorite characters in the entire Cyborg crew and made him look completely normal, whereas he always had a very expressive, big, goofy looking face with big old eyes and a big nose, and they just made him look normal, which his personality still stands, which I love, but I feel like you lose something when you pull away from that cartoony style of art. I mean, even the professor doesn't look like himself. It just doesn't really feel like the Cyborg 009 series to me with this art style. So the art style, of course, is done in CGI, 3D animation, and it at first for me is a little bit off-putting because it reminds me of a video game. And it looks like they legit just took it from video game models and just made it an episode. That's what it feels like. And I don't really know how to feel about it, because sometimes it's gorgeous. In some angles, it looks beautiful. It looks amazing. It looks awesome. It reminds me of the the opening animations from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. It looks good. But then other times it just looks incredibly fake and just wrong. It's a lot of cell shading going on, and it's just not my favorite aesthetic for this series. They've also redesigned almost every character, and I don't like those either entirely, especially Cyborg 009, because to be honest, he straight up just looks normal. Like, they even took away his hair. His hair was so cool in every series. That was one of his defining marks, that big swooping awesome hair. They took away the big noses. They just made them all look really styled down. But the story they put in place more than makes up for it. They do a really good job of keeping a milder pace than usual, meaning normally it's a very slow paced show. This is a little bit faster. I like it. There's a lot more action. There's a lot more build up, and they even make it tie into the history of the overall Cyborg 009 world, meaning like everything that we saw before still happened and continues to happen, because they pretty much make a point in the first episode to go, all right, we saw you in the 60s, we saw you in the 70s, we saw you in the 80s, we saw you in the 90s, we see you in the 2000s, and you haven't aged ever. What up with that? And you never stop to think about that kind of thing, but it's so freaking real. So I do wonder sometimes why the professor isn't really aging very much throughout those images either, but I won't question that because it's anime logic and they can have it. This series is done and composed extremely well on the music side. Again, the animation kind of bugs me, much like it did in Algin. Algin is another anime where they did more of a cell shade, like 3D animated style, and I at times had issues with the movement. I felt like it was very stifled and very slow, which they fixed later in the second season. And in this, it doesn't feel that way. It just doesn't look as good to me as that classic style that the show is known for and known for retaining. And for me, that is a lot of the appeal of the show, because you get to feel like you're back watching Speed Racer or something like that. It just feels classic, but this doesn't. And that isn't going to take away from the quality of the writing in the show and the characters and the build-up. I will say this is a much more darker series than I was bargaining for, but that doesn't mean it's bad. It's just not something I fall in love with. It's extremely average in my opinion. And I'm not going to tell you that you need to run on and watch it. I'll just tell you that if you're looking for something to kind of, clue you in what's been going on in the Cyborg 009 world, it's here. You can watch it, but it's not really amazing. If I'm going to give any kind of rating system, I'll give it a 5 out of 10 stars. Since I am not the Pokemon Games nerd, I don't do Squirtles. You don't know what that means, go watch my other channel, Chris Sanders. But beyond that, guys, that's all I got. Let me know what you think about Cyborg 009 and this new series here on Netflix. Should you go watch it? Yeah, if you're bored, but there's plenty of other things you could be checking out, like the next anime I will review, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Diamond is Unbreakable. Thanks a lot, everybody. This is Chris, and now Breeze Teleport.